Please stand by. We're about to begin. Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Zuffa LLC Strikeforce Tate versus Rousey conference call. Today's conference is being recorded. At this time, for opening remarks and introductions, I would like to turn the conference over to Mr. Ryan Grabb. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. Strikeforce Tate versus Rousey airs live on Showtime at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Pacific Time, which is taped late on the West Coast on Saturday, March 3rd from Nationwide Arena in Columbus, Ohio. Prelims will air on Showtime Extreme at 8 p.m. Eastern Time and Pacific Time, also taped late for the West Coast. Today on the call, we're joined by the main and co-main event participants from next weekend's blockbuster card. We begin first with the current Strikeforce Women's Bantamweight Champion who will be making her first title defense, Miesha Tate. We're also joined by her opponent, who currently stands undefeated in her pro MMA career, Ronda Rousey. Also joining us on the call today is former Strikeforce champ Josh Thomson, as well as his opponent and top lightweight contender, KJ Noons. Now I'd like to turn it over to the CEO of Strikeforce, Mr. Scott Coker.
Thanks, Ryan. I'd like to thank the media for attending today's conference call, as well as thanking Miesha and Ronda, Josh and KJ, and thank you to our broadcast partner, Showtime Television, Mr. Steven Espinoza. We're excited to be back in Columbus, Ohio. Looking forward to put on another amazing Strikeforce event. But before we go into the bulk of the call, we have an announcement that just came in from Sean Shelby, and that is that Derek Brunson will not be fighting against Jacare next Saturday due to not being able to pass his medicals. We are looking for another opponent for Jacare, and fully expect Jacare's fight to be on the main part of the card. Derek Brunson's medical is something that's not severe. We can't get into it, so let's avoid those questions about any details, because we're not going to be giving out any details. But we expect him back shortly, and Ryan, I'll pass it back to you.
Great. Thanks, Scott. At this time, we'd like to open up for questions, please.
Yes, if you would like to ask a question, please signal by pressing the star key, followed by the digit 1 on your telephone keypad. If you are using a speakerphone, please be sure your mute function is turned off to allow your signal to reach our equipment. Once again, that is star 1 if you would like to ask a question. We'll pause for a moment to assemble the queue. And again, that is star 1 if you would like to ask a question. And we'll go ahead and hear first from Leif Knutson with Fox News Minneapolis.
Hi, this is Leif Knutson. Question for the ladies. We will start with the champ. Many people are, bringing sex appeal into this fight. Some are calling it the sexiest MMA match in the history of MMA. How do you feel about, the sexualization of this when you two are essentially going to, try and knock a hole in each other's face?
Well, I think it's good to be, have the aspect of the beauty and whatnot, and I think that it's great that we both bring that element to it because, it gives something different. And I like it. I think that it's good for us. I think that it's great that we both embrace, being beautiful, empowered, strong women. And, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And, I think that the most important thing is that we deliver inside the cage and we show that, first and foremost, we're fighters, and that's why we're here. But, we're also, women and beautiful outside the cage, and it's perfectly fine to have both.
Exactly. All right. Same question to you, Rana.
Well, I agree with a lot of things that Miesha said, and I think that's part of what makes this fight so exciting and so anticipated is we're pretty much getting into unarmed combat where, anything's possible. Someone could die, and if you see two girls that pretty much look like, warrior princess going at it, that was a show on TV for a reason. People want to watch it. And I think that this is going to be a huge fight, and it's going to change women's MMA for a long time.
Agreed. Can't wait to see it. Good luck, ladies.
Thank you.
And next we'll hear from Bo Duer with ESPNW. Your line is open, Mr. Duer.
Yeah, sorry, I had mute on. Had a question for Scott about the matchmaking here. After Miesha won her last fight against Marlos, everyone talked with Sarah Kaufman. That was the matchup that was coming up. What was it that convinced you that this was the matchup to make instead, to have Ronda fight Miesha instead?
I'll tell you, it was a very a simple process. I think that if you look at the fights that Ronda has fought and who she fought, the results that were created, I mean, it's pretty amazing. And we felt good about putting this fight together.
And were you concerned about having someone who's had 4 pro fights and less than a total round's worth of experience in the cage fight for a title?
Not at all. I mean, you know what? When you think about mixed martial arts, I mean, quite frankly, you have to think about the entire scope of the athlete. And Ronda has been in the Olympics, as you know, 2 times, and has probably had more mat work than any female mixed martial artist that I know of. When you think about all the experience in the judo, all the experience in martial arts, all the experience in Olympics, and you put it together with the results. I mean, she's beating girls that have had 15, 20 fights. So when you look at that, I mean, it clearly deserves a shot, and we feel really, really good about it.
All right, thanks very much.
And now we'll move to a question from Sergio Nunn with USA Today.
Yeah, hi. This question is for Josh. Josh, I was wondering, the last few years you've had your ups and downs with injuries, and you didn't fight at all last year, and I'm wondering why you think that keeps happening to you, and how you're doing these days.
We did something different for this camp. I'm a little nervous of doing something like this different against somebody like KJ. He's given all the experience, and he's been in the cage with some top guys. So, but we felt like it was something that had to be done. I've spent half my career on the shelf because of injury. So we really cut back on the condition, or not the condition, but the workload that I was doing as far as training and for this camp. So we're hoping that it pays off. I've looked better and felt better in the gym than I have, in years. But, like I've always told everybody that I'm not looking to be a gym hero. I'm somebody that wants to come in there and make sure that I perform well, on fight night and deliver a good performance. But I've also noticed, too, that in my Healy fight, in my JD fight, and obviously with the Kawajiri fight, I just felt flat. I felt, sure, I had the conditioning, the muscle endurance, all that stuff to go, but I didn't feel strong. I didn't feel at my top game like I did when I was on my 7 or 8 fight win streak. So, I had to get back to that, and so I started feeling better in the gym for this camp. Obviously a couple little injuries here and there, but that's just part of the training camp. I've been training for about 12 weeks now. I had a long camp because I had such a long way off. So I'm just focusing on making sure that I was in really good shape for this fight, given that KJ was gonna, obviously he likes to push the pace. He likes to be an action fighter. So I want to make sure that I was in good enough shape to do all those things. So, I just really kind of weaned back on some of the things that I felt weren't as important in this camp, and that's kind of how I got through this camp and trying to stay healthy.
How concerned are you that you might lose some of your skill edge by cutting back like that?
Actually what it was is we cut out some of the other stuff, not so much the skill edge stuff. We cut out more of the, I was doing more like a plyometric CrossFit style workout 3 days a week, like intense 5 hard rounds, with a minute break in between, plus sprints right after that, and I was doing that 3 days a week, plus doing my runs with my double workouts during the day. So my training with the fighters in the morning, and then my training with the fighters in the evening. So that was 4 workouts a day, 3 days a week, and I just noticed I was getting hurt and injured a lot, and my body was just breaking down. So I've had a lot of good sparring for this. I had Gray Maynard here, helping me spar, Justin Wilcox, obviously. But then I've had a lot of good kickboxers that were in here with me, too, helping me. I had the world stand show champion, someone who's real hard to take down, someone who knows how to get great takedowns. I've noticed KJ was shooting his last fight, so, I had a kickboxer in a kickboxing stance, really trying to push me in the kickboxing, but also trying to take me down. And, me trying to get takedowns by guys like him. So, I've had really good athletes, in the gym helping me. So, I'm excited for this fight.
Okay, great. Thank you.
We'll now move to a question from James Bryden with Sportsnet Canada.
Hi, my first question is for Ronda. Judo has always been one of the disciplines used in MMA, but it seems to me lately like a lot of more fighters are including it in their arsenal. I was wondering if you think that's the case. Why might that be? And do you feel like you're in a spot to carry the Judo torch, so to speak?
I mean, Judo is a great grappling art for MMA. It's one of the few ones where you can really do a lot of your takedowns without changing your level. I think it's one of the best for clinching, like already in the clinch. I think it's the best way to take anybody down. And it's also like the only grappling art that really emphasizes transition, going straight from the throw right into submissions right away. And I think it's been really underappreciated. And one of my major goals when I started doing MMA was not just to push women's MMA, but also to promote Judo, because Judo's also been, kind of going downhill for the past few decades. So, but it's really cool to see other, really respectable athletes. Like I see John Jones doing Judo throws all the time and stuff like that. And every single time I see that happen, I freak out. And it's funny, the only distinction I give people between Judo throws and wrestling throws is I say that the throws that require a lot of muscle are wrestling, and the throws that you can do just with timing, then those are Judo. So I think that any smart athlete would want to, conserve their energy and just do good timing throws.
Okay, and secondly, you're very early in your MMA career, obviously, yet you're fighting for a title in just your 5th pro fight. From that regard, you can kind of draw a parallel with Brock Lesnar, who came into the UFC with a lot of hype and rode that to a title shot in just his 4th fight. Do you think such a comparison is fair, or do you think your situations are just completely different?
Well, I think it's similar enough where I understand the comparison, but I feel like my pre-MMA background is a little bit more than his was. But, I don't think that's unfair, but he also did win, so yeah, sure, completely.
And then for Miesha, you've been vocal about the fact that Ronda has sort of talked her way into this title shot. Do you think there are similarities with the Lesnar situation? Should fighters have to earn their shots more with wins than words?
I think so. I think that there's a lot of hype coming into this fight. With Brock Lesnar, he had a lot of hype, and I think that Ronda has a lot of hype as well. And at 4-0, I don't feel that she's as deserving as some other people, and like Sarah Kaufman, for instance, and even Alexis Davis. I don't feel that she's as deserving. Now, it doesn't mean that her skill set's not great, and maybe she's not going to be the next world's greatest fighter or whatever. But I don't feel that she's earned this title fight. I do not feel she's earned it at 4-0 and never have fought at 135, but it's an entertainment business, and I think this is the fight that the fans want to see, and from that aspect, I can understand why it would want to be put together and why it's being so promoted and getting so much attention, So, it is what it is.
Okay, thanks a lot.
We'll now move to a question from Damon Merton with MMAweekly.com.
Yeah, first question is for Ronda. Obviously smack talk, trash, trash talk, whatever you want to call it, hyping a fight is a part of it, but it seems like things between you and Miesha have gotten a lot more personal in these last few weeks. Is that a fair statement, or is there anything personal between you two?
I've never said that I had anything personal against her. I think that probably if we met under different circumstances or things weren't the way they were, we probably would have ended up being friends because, I think that the person that you're fighting you have more in common with than anyone else in the room. But I kind of created this rivalry on purpose because I had enough friends that I really could use with a few enemies, and I think the result of how much attention this fight's been getting kind of proves me right, So it's not personal to me, and I understand why she doesn't like me and why she would take it personal because I've been being, pretty much overtly rude. I haven't been lying or saying anything I didn't think it wasn't true, but I've been saying things I wouldn't say to people's faces usually because it's not polite. But, yeah, whatever. I don't feel bad about it. She can take it personal all she wants. I don't.
To that point, I'll ask you this. When there is a lot of talk before a fight, I know a lot of people have been mentioning Chael Sonnen when they talk to you. And when you talk to that level and let's say the fight doesn't go your way, it obviously all comes kind of crashing back on you. You're extremely confident going in the fight, but does it kind of back you into a corner because there has been so much hype, or do you enjoy that pressure, that extra added element to this fight?
Yeah, I do. I need that pressure. I want to feel like I'm backed into a corner. Have you ever seen the movie Gattaca when he's like, one guy's racing his brother and they're swimming out and they swim out into the ocean and they see which one has to stop first to swim back, and the one guy would win and he couldn't understand why the other guy would win. He's like, why? I don't know why. And he would say that the reason why is because I didn't save anything for the trip back. I'm not saving any, I don't want to give myself a scapegoat or feel like things will be okay if I lose. I want to make sure that I have no other options, so I fight as if I have no other options.
Excellent. And a question for KJ. KJ, coming off the Diaz fight, which was obviously out of your weight class, but then, the fight with George Masvidal, coming back, those last couple of fights, I mean, do you feel like this fight should put you right in line for a title shot? I mean, is that kind of what you're gunning for, a shot at Gilbert Melendez with a win over Josh Thomson?
Sorry, I had my phone on mute. I kind of put my foot in my mouth last time I said I'm for sure getting a title shot, and I lost, so I'm kind of superstitious. I just want to concentrate on the fight ahead of me, and, I mean, I don't really have to say too much. I'm probably not going to get to ask many questions because my fight is always the fight of the night, and KJ Noons is definitely stealing the show. Always. Look at my track record. I'm really excited to be fighting somebody like Josh Thomson. It's going to be a barn burner. I'm trained. This is the hardest I've ever trained, so I'm ready.
Does it add extra, because you know that. I mean, you know that your fights are always exciting. You always have that element to your fight being the co-main event. I mean, do you kind of relish that role? Do you relish that moment to be able to do that, to put on the fight of the night and be in a co-main event?
I mean, it's just something that's in your blood. I mean, almost every single Strikeforce I've ever had, every single fight I've had almost 45 pro fights in boxing, kickboxing, and MMA, and every single fight I've had has always been fight of the night. So I know Josh is ready. This is the most I've ever trained, and it's not whether I'm trying to make it the fight of the night. It's just going to be the fight of the night because I have a true passion for fighting. It's going to be exciting.
Excellent. And a question for Scott to that point. I know you guys don't like to nail anything down 100%. With this being the co-main event and nobody's really been clearly defined as the next guy for Gilbert, how closely are you guys watching this fight for a contenders-type spot?
Yeah, what I'll just say is, both these guys are definitely in the top of the division. But, let's just wait to see how these fights play out. Myself and Sean, we'll take a look at who wins each of these bouts and make a decision based on performances.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, guys.
We'll now hear from Dave Diebert with Post Media News.
Yeah, thanks for the time. For each Miesha and Ronda, I think it's safe to assume that this is the most media, the most press, the most appearances, all that sort of stuff that you've ever had going into a fight. Has there ever been a time in all this lead up where each of you has just wanted to just stop and catch your breath? Have you been overwhelmed at all by all the attention, all the media that's been going into this main event?
Well, this is Miesha, and for me, it's been a lot more work than I've had to do in any of my other fights, but it's not completely unfamiliar. When I had the co-main event with Marloes Kunin, we got a lot of attention for that as well, and, fighting on the bigger show, I'm pretty familiar with the process. So it's just more of it, just a matter of time management, reaching out to other people to kind of help me manage my schedule and keeping, making sure training's a priority and working everything else around that. This is my job. I don't work a 9 to 5, so as long as I'm getting my training in, then I'll dedicate as much time as I can to the media and the PR and just making sure I'm staying on top of that, because selling this fight is just as important as, it doesn't matter if I train my butt off and I go in there and I win and nobody's watching it. It doesn't matter. So, it's just as important that I get out there and make sure that people want to watch this fight as it is that I'm getting my training in and, that I win this fight as well. So it's part of the game.
Ronda?
Yeah, I mean, it's just all multitasking. I find a way to fit all this stuff, in between. Like, I think it's really cool that we're doing a conference call instead of us having to actually go anywhere. So I was already trained once this morning, got to rest, get to wake up for a little bit, talk to you guys, lay down, go train again. We just fit things in between. And, a lot of times people complain that there's so much to do. I remember this Sunday I had the whole day to do nothing, and I was going crazy. I felt like I was forgetting something or something, like I'm just so used to constantly needing to go from one obligation to another that when I had free time, I was stressed out. Well, it's cool.
Okay. All right. Thanks, you guys.
We'll now move to our next question from Garrett Derr with Bleacher Report.
Hey, Miesha, my question's for you. Hey, you fought some really great competitors over the course of your career, but, Ronda's a whole different threat. as you know, she tends to catch her opponent in the armbar. So how has your training really been headed into this fight? Because we really haven't seen any other aspects of her game. So has your focus only been on stopping the armbar?
No, absolutely not. You know, I mean, I'm not really that worried about the armbar, and I think the biggest mistake that I could make is to focus only on what Ronda is going to do or what Ronda can do versus focus on what I'm going to do and what I can do. And, you know, I think it would be a big rookie mistake on my part to, you know, be training armbar defense every single day, you know, and because I'm not training to be in that position. I'm training to impose my will, my game plan, which absolutely does not involve ever being in an armbar, you know. So I've been really focused on implementing what I'm going to do and, you know what I mean, not being too worried about what she's going to do and being proactive instead of reactive, if that makes any sense.
Right, and Ronda's shown her ability to finish before, but so have you. But you also demonstrated the conditioning to make it to a decision. So how do you kind of anticipate this bout playing out? Do you kind of foresee a finish, or do you kind of think it might make its way to the judges' scorecard?
Well, you know, I mean, I haven't seen much more, you know, than what we've seen inside a minute, you know, but I'm sure Ronda has more than just an armbar. You know, I've never been a believer that she's only a one-trick pony because you have to expect the unexpected. As a champion, you have to be prepared for absolutely anything. And, you know, I'm going into this fight being prepared for everything and anything. Although I do know, obviously, what she's really good at. I don't know what else she has to her game necessarily. So I've been preparing for all of it. And let me see if I'm getting off topic here. The rest of the question was, so can you repeat your rest of your question? I have something else you're going to follow with that.
Do you kind of foresee it being another finish? You kind of think it might make its way to the judges' scorecard?
Yeah. No, you know, actually, you know, I want to finish the fight. Obviously, that's the goal. You know, I'm definitely training for that. I'm looking for finishes and visioning finishes. But, you know what I mean? This could be a very competitive fight. And like I said, I have to expect, you know, and be prepared to go all 5 rounds. So I can't really tell, you know, what's going to happen, obviously, but I'm prepared to do either or. Always looking for the finish, though.
Great. All right. Thank you very much. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Better. We'll move to a question from Ben Falkos with MMAfighting.com.
Yeah, my question is for Miesha. I mean, you mentioned earlier how you felt like ideally a fighter should have to do more to earn the title shot than Ronda has done. And Ronda, when she first started agitating for this fight, said that she thought that this fight would be bigger and more beneficial for women's MMA in general. I mean, judging by the media attention that's been on this fight, do you have to concede that she was at least right about that?
Yeah, I never argued that point necessarily. I do see, you know, the reason, and that's why I can't, you know, I don't fault or hate, you know, anything that this has happened or Strikeforce. You know, I understand why. You know, I'm not in denial about that. I understand the logistics behind it and why this fight would want to be put together and how it has the ability to do bigger things than if Sarah Kaufman and I were fighting each other. And just the hype, you know, and the selling points, the marketing points, and I understand all of that because it's not just a sport. I mean, to me, you know, the sport is the most important part. But honestly, like I said, you know, if nobody wants to watch it, then, you know, it's more of a detriment than anything else. So at this point, this is the biggest, the best fight, the biggest selling point, the most draw, everything else, you know, in the big picture that is better for women's mixed martial arts in the sense of attention that it's getting. So, you know, I can appreciate that fact, you know, but I'm still not budging on, you know, who I really feel earned what. I don't feel that Ronda has really earned her position. You know, you can come in and even if you are one of the best in the sport, you know, it doesn't matter until you really prove it. And I don't feel that she's proved that yet.
Great. And for Ronda, I mean, since you mentioned that to start off with, that you felt like this would be the bigger fight for women's MMA, did you feel more pressure to get out there and you know, hype it up? I mean, obviously you kind of turned the smack talk dial up a little bit here for this one. Did you feel like you were obligated to do that in order to make sure that this was a bigger fight, as you said it would be?
Well, yeah, I felt obligated to push for my case as much as possible. You know, this day a year ago, I was working 3 jobs and struggling to train and do all this stuff, and I just wanted to be done with all that. I wanted to be able to support myself through fighting, and I wanted to do it as quickly as possible, and I didn't want to sit around and do that for a few more years and slowly work my way up while telling everybody please and thank yous and bowing my head. You know, I thought that, you know what, I knew that I could win the title the day that I started, and the quickest I could get it, the better. And if, you know, getting a couple, you know, more entertaining interviews than some of the other girls helps me out, then I want to do that.
Great, thanks.
And we'll now hear from Darnell Mason with MMA Hawaii.
Hello, thank you for taking my call. Quick question for both Miesha and Ronda. Can you guys give us any insight or any interesting behind-the-scenes tidbits that happened from that excellent Showtime promo vid? Anything behind the scenes from filming that day?
I'm sorry, I didn't really catch that. Could you say it one more time? I didn't.
My question was, can you give us any interesting tidbits from your video shoot with Showtime for the promo that you shot in that theater?
Oh, just kind of what it was like. I mean, it was really cool.
It was cool. Anything interesting happened between you two behind the scenes, or did you avoid each other?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, it was, you know, we didn't see each other any of the time we were really in the dress, or I didn't really see her anyways. It wasn't until we got our fight gear on and, you know, we were working and face-to-face, and, you know, it's interesting how I thought it was funny that, you know, Ronda always talks about, oh, you know, she won't make eye contact for her. Personally, I think it just pisses her off because I don't give her the time of day, and she's kind of the person that obviously likes to be the center of attention. You know, but when push came to shove and it came time to make eye contact, I just think it's funny that Ronda is always the first one to break eye contact. And, you know, I definitely felt like I saw right through her, and, you know, she's way more talk than anything else. So, you know, I'm not intimidated by all the trash talking, and I'm definitely not, I'm not buying into it at all.
Wow. Thank you.
Once again, if you would like to ask a question, please press *1. We'll now hear from Matt Manzella with CajunReligion.com.
Good afternoon. This one's for Miesha. Miesha, just to touch on a question that was asked earlier, you literally have 3 times the amount of fights as Ronda, but you know, with that said, ultimately, what problems does she present that you may not have seen thus far in an opponent?
Well, I mean, she's an interesting style matchup. I can't say that I have a lot of experience fighting someone, you know, with a judo background, and I have fought a judo background person before, but I think Ronda is on a whole new level as far as that goes. However, you know, I think there's going to be holes in the game as far as when you've been training one specific art for so long, that becomes your habit and your first nature. So when you get into the cage, and that's something also that you can't recreate. I don't care how many times you spar. There's something invaluable about the time you spend in the cage when you learn about yourself. And Ronda doesn't have a lot of experience with that. You know, a total of 7 minutes, if that. You know, and so when she gets in the cage, basically what I'm saying is she has a lot of bad habits that come from judo that are going to be hard for her to break because they're instinctual. It's called muscle memory. She's trained it that way so many times, but it doesn't work that well for MMA. And as a mixed martial artist, I've been trying to perfect the sport of mixed martial arts 6 times as long as she has. And I feel like when I get out there as a fighter and I turn this into a fight, not a judo match, because Ronda is not a fighter. She hasn't fought a single fight yet. She's gone out there, she's judo thrown people, and she's armbarred them. She's maybe thrown, I think, 5 punches in her whole entire fight career. So it's going to be a game changer when she finally eats some love for this time, and, you know, she's not able to just go out there and throw me around like she has the girls that she's fought previously.
And just a follow-up, is there any added pressure being as though this is your first title defense and it comes in the main event spot?
Well, I mean, I guess, you know, people always ask pressure, and I say, well, you know, pressure is a good thing, and for me, it's a positive thing. I feel I always work best under pressure. You know, the harder someone comes at me, the more I get hurt, the harder I always fight. I never back down, and it's the same sense, you know, of pressure in the sense of, you know, being in the limelight and having this opportunity. You know, I think of it as a really great, super positive thing. You know, and a big opportunity. I'm more than ready for it. I've been prepared for it. This is something that I've had a goal of mine for a long time, so I'm very welcoming of it, and, you know, I'm more than happy to take it on and do what I can with it.
Thanks a lot, Miesha. Best of luck.
And we'll now move to a question from Kyle Conroy with MMARecap.com.
Yes, thank you. My question is for the main event fighters. Speaking of pressure, is there any unnecessary pressure put on that you feel from the two of you that's put on the media, that's put on by the fans to have a really exciting finish to carry the division of women's MMA forward in a positive manner?
I mean, I've always felt like that. It's not the fans or the media that make me feel like I have to finish and I have to be exciting. It's the situation of women's MMA in general. You know, we're not just fighting for one victory for ourselves. We're fighting for our entire sport every single time that we fight. So I don't feel like that pressure has changed at least a little bit. You know, I fight to be exciting and to finish because that's what the women need.
As for me, I guess, it's basically the same thing. I just feel like we have a responsibility as women to stick together and really try to help out the other girls, especially because we're getting, Ronda and I are getting the opportunity for the limelight. So the thing about women's MMA, when you have very little opportunity for mass exposure, you've got to make the most out of it. It's got to be the most bang for your buck, because women's fights usually get maybe one televised spot out of the whole fight card. So let's say there's 4 or 5 spots. Women get 1. The guys get 4 or 5. Every fight card I've ever seen, there's usually been one fight that's really exciting, at least, and one fight that's, mediocre, maybe even really terrible and boring. Sometimes that happens in the women's MMA as well, but when we only get that one small opportunity to shine, we don't have a broad spectrum of all these women's fights getting shown so we can show the depth and dynamic, some are exciting, some aren't. All of women's MMA gets based kind of on one fight, because that's the fight that's getting exposure. It doesn't matter about, the smaller fight card cage sport that has this fantastic and seeing that, so there's added pressure in the fact that, a lot is riding on our shoulders for the future of women's MMA and how people see it and whether they respect it or not. So it's really important that we perform well.
Great, thank you. I have a follow-up there for Scott Coker. What is Strikeforce? What's their plans for the women's division for the rest of 2012?
I mean, it's, really business as usual. I mean, it's proven that if you look at our history and our track record, we've been, supporting women's mixed martial arts fights since we were allowed to have mixed martial arts in California. It started with the Gina Carano versus Elena Maxwell fight in December of '06. So, we've been strong supporters of the female division, and we're going to continue. And so, throughout this year and into next year, you're going to see women's fights on Strikeforce and on Showtime.
Great, thanks.
And we'll now hear from Sergio Nunn with USA Today.
Yeah, I had a question for Miesha. Earlier in this call, Ronda said that she characterized judo as a matter of timing and wrestling as a matter of just pure muscle. And I was wondering how much you would agree or disagree with that.
I completely disagree with that at all. I think some of the best wrestlers in the world are that have good timing. I mean, it's not all about brute force and everything like that, although wrestling is, I believe, a much rougher sport. It involves more upper body strength and a lot of times more battling, more grinding, more pressure. It's a very rough and tough sport. But when it comes to the throws and whatnot, that's all about pressure, leverage, using their weight and body dynamics against the other person. There's different styles of wrestling too. There's collegiate, there's freestyle, there's Greco, and those are all different. So you can't just really sum it up and say, this or that about it specifically, because there's kind of a lot of different ways that you can do it. But basically, when it comes to the throws and whatnot, I would completely disagree. John Jones is not a judo player. He's a wrestler. Therefore, the technique that he's using without a gi in mixed martial arts is wrestling. All the same throws that are in gi, judo, and whatnot are also in wrestling. When you take the gi away, they come from over-unders, and that is absolutely wrestling-based. And I completely disagree with the muscle versus, not muscle, and that having any comparison to being judo versus wrestling.
All right. Thank you.
And as a reminder, that is *1 to ask another question. We'll move to a question from Angel Cordero with the MMA Truth.
Hi, thank you for taking this time. This first question for Miesha and Ronda at the same time. If you could make a case for women's MMA, of course, the excuse to say it like that Dana White is putting up to not have women's MMA in the UFC is that there's not enough depth in the divisions. But what can you tell the public, the fans, and the ladies that are practicing any of the disciplines involved in MMA to seduce them to come into the sport and start fighting?
I'm not sure if I caught the very tail end of that. You kind of broke up on me. I caught everything about Dana White and the women. What did you say about the women coming into the sport?
Yeah. What would you guys say to the females practicing the disciplines involved in MMA to come to practice MMA and get involved in it?
I gotcha. I mean, I would encourage them. I'd say more power to you. We need more of you because, some people might think, you don't want more so you can stay on the top, or, a lot of people would think the less depth, the better. Maybe for one person, honestly, but when you think about the big picture, we need more women to have success. We can't do it with, one or two top females. We need a lot. We need not a face of women's MMA, but faces and stars, more than one, so that everyone can have their favorite pick, and we can have lots of diversity and lots of great matchups and lots of stylistic, differences and a broad spectrum of wonderful female athletes that can put on amazing fights. And, I definitely always encourage girls to go out for wrestling or, start jiu-jitsu or whatever it is. And, the young girls, I always try to encourage them and, tell them, I did it when there wasn't women doing it at this time. There was no women's wrestling teams. I was wrestling on the guys' team, and look how much it's changed, and you have so much opportunity here. Definitely need to take advantage of it if it's something that you want to do.
And Ronda?
I think what you needed to do to encourage people to start something is, to get women to do MMA, they need to think that they have a future in it. That's part of the reasons why I quit Judo, is because I didn't think I had a future in it, and then I think what we can do to encourage them is make them say, look, this is sustainable, we're making a living off of this. You're not going to make a living off of wrestling or jiu-jitsu or kickboxing or judo. I think that the way that we can really encourage women to come over and get some real depth is if we continue to really push these women's fights and show that, not only can you have a fighting career, but even after that, you can have a career teaching or open your own place or, do movies or do stunts or whatever. I think just making it seem like an attractive career in general is, a good way to attract new fighters.
Well, I hope this fight really convinces women that they do have a future in the sport. A follow-up question for Miesha. Miesha, you said that Ronda has a lot of judo glitches, if we can put it like that, that don't work very good in MMA. I come from a judo background myself. Can you abund a little bit on that?
I'm sorry again. I'm driving in the very last part. I heard everything up to the glitches. So it was the very last.
Well, you said earlier that Ronda has a couple of judo glitches, if we can say it like that. Can you abund a little bit like that?
Well, I think I basically got the